Patience is a virtue, a quote we get from William Langland, who originally wrote it in 1360. That phrase, when continued, states, "When rightly exercised, does not fail its reward." Patience, something I've had to endure a lot of on this adventure. And now, at the end of the road and no good way home, I find myself having to be patient once again. Pressures from every direction to keep moving, to keep flying, to keep enduring mechanical failures, logistics, and now I'm waiting on the unknown. I find myself not knowing where to go. I've ended up in a small town on the edge of a giant bay. I came here by faith, knowing that once I arrived, I would be trapped by the earth and water around me. But in my heart, I knew I needed to come here, although I didn't know why, and I didn't know what I would find here, but I knew I needed to come anyway. Coming here meant heading into a dead end. There are no more roads north from here, and east is the Atlantic Ocean. To my west was the mighty Amazon rainforest, a vast jungle which sprawls over 2.7 million square miles, scarred by giant rivers and blanketed by 400 billion trees. And south meant going all the way back from where I came, back over the Andes Mountains and the freezing temperatures and howling winds of the basin. There is no good way home. There's no way I can go back to where I started from by driving the motorcycle. The country to the north, the one country I wanted to see more than any other in South America, won't let me in. I wanted to finish this season where I started, but from here, I don't know how to get home. But I knew deep down I was here for a reason. I was drawn here to the end of the road. And what I found here at the end of this road was a friend.
Well, good morning. Last night, I met a guy who's on vacation named Estacio, and he happens to be a paramotor pilot, and he suggested a beach that was different from the original beach we were going to fly at, and this place looks absolutely gorgeous. Well, we decided to call it, and we're going to try this afternoon around 5 o'clock. The problem is that we can get in the air, no problem, but the problem is landing, because the wind is actually coming off the forest, and the forest, even at 8 o'clock in the morning, is very hot, and a lot of those thermals are coming off, and we're getting a huge amount of rotor. So taking off should be okay because you can judge when the wind is calm, but landing, it's a little bit more difficult. So Manuel, in his wisdom of the area, said that, look, it's better if we just wait till 5. The thermals will calm down for the day, and the wind will shift where it's more coming from the river instead of from the forest, which is, you can't see because there's houses here, but it's pretty much just the jungle past those houses, and they produce a lot of thermals. So we're gonna hang out with Manuel and spend the day just enjoying the day, and hopefully this afternoon we'll get up in the air. It is late morning, and you can see now that the beach is totally covered with water. There's no beach left. Well, good morning. We weren't able to fly yesterday. The winds were horrible. They got worse and worse as the day went on. We looked at the forecast today, and today it's even worse. But there may be another place we can fly. It's still early, it's about 6 in the morning. The sun is just now coming up. We have to go to a river and take a barge over to the beach that we're gonna try. So bike is packed up, and I'm gonna go meet my friend pilot over there, Ignacio, and hopefully we'll be able to fly over there today. Not sure. At any rate, it's worth a shot.
Just 2 days ago, I arrived in a very small town on the edge of the Amazon River, an isolated area where there is only one road in or out, and most of the travel here is done by the local ferries. Following my heart, I met my friend Denelson, who I had met in Guyana, and enjoyed a warm meal and some fresh acai. And it just so happens that the owner of the house that I was at happened to know a paramotor pilot that lived in the area, and it just so happens that that paramotor pilot, Eustachio, was on vacation this week and had the time to show me where to fly. Coincidences like this happen in my life all the time. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you already know this, and when people ask me how it is that I get so lucky, I always tell them the truth. My God truly loves me.
Well, beautiful flight at the beach. Welcome to close to the mouth of the Amazon. Ignacio found us a beach we can fly at. It's not very big, and in the distance, I don't know if you can see it, but that's Belém in the distance. Rough winds at the beach. Can't leave my brake handles. Well, there is nothing but jungle around here, so you can't land anywhere except on this beach. And the beach is lined with these electric wires. The wind is rough. I mean, you would think it's beach wind. It is rough. Gosh, the last couple of flights I've had have been like crap wind. And this is really crap wind. This is collapse material right here. I'm not kidding. You would think it's laminar, but something's going on between us and the inland. Oh, it is crap wind. And it doesn't really get better the lower you get. In fact, it just gets kind of more sketchy.
There are some winds you look for when flying, and there are some you want to avoid. The winds here were the ones you typically stay away from. The thermals popping up in the forest were being blown to the river where we were, as you can see by the birds circling just above us. But I was still happy to be in the air, and for the moment, I wasn't worried about not knowing where to go from here. I was just enjoying the moment. I was flying, and I was happy.
There's a thermal that is off that beach up there that's really frickin' creating havoc over here. I could probably sit here and ridge soar this little beach. That was tough just to get the wing down. Holy crap.
We can take off again if you want.
That was rough wind.
But
And I don't have flotation, so I looked at the island and how far.
yes,
and
I
was
did go also. But it is more bumpy than I expected.
a lot more, yeah.
So it can be difficult or dangerous to land with less sand, okay? Because of the trees.
Yeah.
But the time permits us to fly again if you want.
We had a good flight.
Nice.
We got up in the air.
Yes,
and we landed safely.
Well, we had a good flight, but a short flight. We're now back on the boards after absolutely delicious lunch, waiting for all of the trucks and everything to get on the barge. And I'm here with Eustachio, who's my friend. I'll introduce you to him because he speaks English, and he has helped me out with the logistical problem that I'm about to run into immensely. I just meet the right people at the right time. He's also a phenomenal pilot, been flying for like 20 years, but when it gets more quiet, when we stop, we'll have another chat with him. The garbage truck just got on, and the smell definitely lets you know that. And now the school bus is getting on. Without children, though. So let me give you a little bit of background. I needed to head up north, and I wasn't exactly sure how I would get back to Colombia to make my route. But I actually got the problem pretty much solved now. Here was the problem. Venezuela 2 months ago denied the processing of visas from United States citizens because some political disruption between the two countries. So my original plan was to go up through Brazil and into Venezuela and then around to Colombia. Heading north, I found out that I wasn't allowed into Venezuela and they won't process my visa, which is why I kept going to Brasilia, was to go to the Venezuelan embassy. They said no. They said they are no longer processing American citizens to Venezuela, but I decided to head north anyway. Now, if you look at a map, there's no roads out of Brazil heading west, so there's no way to get to Colombia. But when I met Denelson back in Guyana, he was a guy who was staying at the hotel with me. And I met Denelson and we decided to play some billiards together, and you know, about 3 or 4 nights a week we would go play billiards. Well, he invited me up north to Belém, which is where I am. And when I met him, I met the gentleman who raises the fish in his backyard. And he knew another gentleman that I've been flying with, which is, of course, Eustachio. Although that's not actually his name is pronounced with this funny A-U... How do you say your name?
Eustachio.
Yeah, we can't say that. So Eustachio has been flying around, and his lovely wife has figured out how I can... She's cooking, by the way. It's a barbecue. Delicious meal here. She's figured out how I can take a boat through the Amazon River and then somehow end up in either Ecuador or Colombia. So it worked out after all. I headed up north by faith, and sure enough, I met this beautiful family here, and they solved the issue for me. So we're gonna eat some barbecue. She made us a lovely meal, nice Brazilian barbecue, and I can't remember his children's name, so you're gonna have to say your name.
Ana.
João.
As his face is full of food. And his lovely wife here. Elaine. All right, so we're gonna have some food, and thanks, Eustachio. Is that correct?
Yes,
Oh,
that
okay,
correct?
all right, we got that.
Eustachio and I would get in a few more flights from this little beach while he was on vacation. Sometimes the wind was tolerable, but most flights we were being tossed around, but I didn't care. This was a tough place to fly because of the tides here. You had to time the takeoffs with the low tide, and you couldn't stay in the air too long because the tides come in quickly and cover the beach entirely. So calculating the tide cycle and wind was tricky. But Eustachio, the engineer that he is, calculated some good flights for us. Eustaquio is the type of guy who is a master of anything he touches. An engineer by trade, but a phenomenal programmer, mechanic, welder, pilot, and so many other things. But most of all, Eustaquio is an intellectual, and the conversations we had were amazing. And best of all, they were in English.
Tonight I have a special treat for you. I'm going to take you to the Oscars. In this little town, which I'm not sure the name of the town, I think it's Para or it might be Capri. Either way, the high schoolers here, one of their projects is to make movies, and then they present these movies one night during the year at a place at their school, and they call it the Oscars. Estacio's children are part of the high school, so they've each made a movie. The classes are broken up into two groups, so you have half a class making one movie and half a class making the other. They have to make their movie about a historical person, and his daughter has made a movie about Katherine Johnson, who is a mathematician for NASA. So let me take you to the Oscars.
Each class presented their movie about the historical figure they had chosen. Some were done from a personal perspective and some were more factual, but all were extremely well done, and I was very impressed at the talent of these high schoolers. The subjects they chose were Katherine Johnson, Pythagoras, Mary Curie, and a few others. I was amazed at how good they each told their stories, and each film was competing for the same awards that you would see in Hollywood, such as Best Actor, Best Director, Best Music Score, Best Costumes, and so on. I rarely watch movies, but these were something special. The night was capped off with awards and best wishes and, of course, pictures. This was a night I would remember, and it made me wish that the arts were more of a priority in some of the schools around the world, especially when they merge the arts with history and learning, and that is exactly what tonight was.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the Oscars as much as I did. The kids actually work on these videos for 8 months throughout the year, and the whole town celebrates with them. The production was unbelievable. I was so impressed with every movie and the production of every movie. And so now we're gonna go with Eustaquio and we're gonna go celebrate at a restaurant. Eustaquio.
Very good, Chris.
All right, one of these days I'll learn how to say that name.
The next morning I would be reminded about patience. Although Eustaquio and his wife had found a route for me to go through the Amazon, I now needed to wait for a boat to take me there. A few more flights and a few more barbecues with my friends, and a little more waiting. Waiting to go into the jungle, waiting for the unknown.